Elizabeth Audencream.
This One's Wife. The follow-up voicemail. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. As I explained to you yesterday, this one's wife had made a telephone call, and I wasn't able to get a word in edgeways, as I decided it was appropriate to listen to what she had to say, and thus spilled out that beige word salad as she doled out pity play after pity play. I did it to highlight the various manipulations that a mid-range narcissist may well use by a direct hoover against an appliance that's viewed as being a threat to control. Naturally, my commentary about this one's wife, explaining why she behaves as she does, why she says the things that she does, why she goes about in the way that she does, all of that points to her narcissism. There are times where I am critical of her because I find her a somewhat ridiculous character. But most of the time I'm just explaining that she behaves the way that she does because of her narcissism. And it's actually not judgmental, but simply stating a fact. Nevertheless, stating such a fact to a narcissist is never going to go down well. That's because the use of the term narcissist is a stigmatic term. And to someone like this one's wife, who is pathologically incapable of recognizing what she is, to call her a narcissist is a threat to control. Remember, she thinks she's a good person. She thinks she's a kind person. She thinks that she's brilliant, beautiful, fun, and interesting. She doesn't regard herself as a narcissist, far from it. Indeed, to suggest that she is patently unfair in the world of this one's wife, and thus amounts to a subconscious threat to control. By labelling her as such and talking about it extensively, using her as a fantastic example of narcissism in action, showing off the various facets of her behaviour, the way that she talks to people, the way that she interacts with Harry, members of the royal family, her own family, etc. She is a walking, talking example of narcissism in action that many people are interested in. And therefore it would be remiss not to utilise the many things that she does to point this out. Naturally, that does not find favour with her, because it is interpreted as criticism. Even where it is a simple analysis and observation of what she does, by linking it to her behaviour as a narcissist, it is viewed as a criticism, and thus a threat to control. As you know from my work, the narcissist will respond in one of three ways in order to nullify that threat to control: directly, indirectly, or by withdrawal. Much of the time, this one's wife, where she might come across my work, would undoubtedly mutter to somebody about how I'm wrong and that I don't know what I'm talking about, and that I'm a vindictive, nasty, narcissistic psychopath who has nothing better to do with his time than to pick on her. In other instances, she may well just jettison the thought about me, thinking that I'm a horrible human being. But as I explained yesterday, her narcissism was motivated for the purpose of asserting control directly. Hence, there was a telephone call, which provided you with an example of a way that a narcissist such as this one's wife might well behave in order to assert control directly, with some entertainment thrown in also. I, of course, was not given the opportunity to respond. She was prescriptive. She issued a diktat, expecting that I would then come to heel, that I had been put in my place, that her haughty expression of how it makes her feel and how unfair it is to treat her that way was sufficient to cause me to behave myself. Of course, thereafter, more videos followed, demonstrating her narcissism in action, and therefore that meant that I was a naughty appliance. I was not compliant. I continued to threaten her control. And as a consequence of that, her narcissism dictated that she ought to try again, ought to attempt to cause me to get back in my box and behave myself. Thus, she hoovered once again. I did not take the call on that occasion as I was busy about something else yesterday evening. I don't need to share the details of that with you. That's personal and private. Hence, the call came through, and later I noticed that I had a voicemail message, and it was from this one's wife. And once again, for the purposes of providing you with entertaining education, I give you that voicemail by way of a further example of the way that the middle mid-range narcissist would seek to hoover in order to try and assert control. Settle back, ensure you're not drinking or eating, and listen to the voicemail follow-up hoover.
This is a message for Mr. Tudor. Hello, this is Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. You will remember that I called you yesterday to help you understand how difficult my life is, and how you, Mr. Tudor, have continued to cause me problems, which is wholly unfair. I must admit it was with a heavy heart that I found that you have not learned from your behaviors, and you did not take on board the meaningful lesson that I gave you yesterday. That is unfortunate. We are both at the table, Mr. Tudor. I recognize that you are an educated and influential man, and it was my hope that I could appeal to your sense of decency to recognize that what you have been doing is not only unfair, but wrong and hurtful to me. Ask yourself this, Mr. Tudor. How would you like it if you were an empowered feminist, an inspiration to millions of young women around the world, and someone kept criticizing what you did? How would you feel? I know how it makes me feel. It makes me feel invalidated, unheard, and prejudiced against. And I have sworn to fight prejudice, ever since I slayed Procter & Gamble when I was 11 years old. You may be familiar with how I took on the power of corporate America single-handedly and made them change a clearly sexist advertisement. Even Hillary Clinton approved. That is who you are dealing with, Mr. Tudor, a warrior of soap. I don't really have time for this. I have a successful lifestyle brand to run, a speech to write for Kamala Harris, and that olive branch is not going to repair itself. On top of that, I must speak out as guest speaker, otherwise how are people going to know the truth about the royal family? I have tried to be nice to you, Mr. Tudor, because I am a firm believer in turn up and do good, so long as it benefits me, but you persist in trying my patience. Oh, I know they find you funny, and you do possess a keen sense of humor, but it is no laughing matter trying to coordinate a poo emoji hat with missing Jawa beige. Only a true style icon can achieve that. I have tried to reason with you because at the end of the day, when all is said and done, I am a reasonable person. You can ask anybody who knows me and they will tell you, yes, Meghan is reasonable. However, you and those other YouTubers do not seem capable of understanding what being reasonable is. Do you know how hurtful and invalidating it is to have some woman on a boat tell you you are a bad person? And by the way, how do you do the gardening on the boat? That does not make sense, but anyway, and don't get me started on sue me or Sue Smith or sue that. I mean, how many Sues are there? If you do not start to play ball, Mr. Tudor, I will bring you down. I have connections. I have a member's card for Costco. I once stood in the same room as Michelle Obama. If you persist in upsetting me and H, who is now engaging in sexual surrogacy therapy with Nacho because of all of the generational trauma his bottom has endured, then I will have no choice but to engage the services of Pearson Hardman. I know plenty about the law myself. After all, I was a sassy litigator in Suits, which you have probably watched and thought, who is that hot paralegal? Call Rachel. I want to cross-examine her into climax. Most men have. Well, I have news for you, Mr. Tudor, and all your hater chums. Do not cross me. As Martin Luther King once said, no woman, no cry, and I will drink those tears, Mr. Tudor. Believe me, as a compassionate woman who believes in the power of truth and reconciliation, I have no desire to hurt anybody, but as they used to say on the yacht I occasionally traveled on, one in the bum, no harm done. Do you understand what I am trying to say? All I ask is that you recognize the difficulties I have, and that you respect the now, the today, and the moment. Do not drink the royal daily tea. Pay no attention to that murky woman or that crazed person from Wales. They do not know me. Do not be a party to misinformation, but instead join my party of jam and joy. We are truly a family, Mr. Tudor, as you know. Family matters to me very much, and I will always put family first. I say this to you with peace in my heart and the knowledge that a donation to Archwell brings much-needed relief to H and me. Think on what you do. Reflect. Be the better person. Reach deep within yourself and ask that inner child, how shall I color this day? We could be friends, Mr. Tudor. They tell me you know your way around a woman, and believe me, I have had many men getting lost in my crevices, so finding someone who can find the exit would be a blessing. I urge you, Mr. Tudor, think not of what you can do for you, but what you can do for me and let us end this senseless feud. I reach out to you as I have reached out to my father, my half-brother, my half-sister, Lizzie, Catherine, William, Zara, Anne, Chuck, Camilla, Mike, Piers, Trevity, Trev, and God with my olive branch. Take it and pluck my olives. I shall call again to ensure that you have grasped the love branch of reconciliation one last time before I unleash the hounds of law. Good day to you.
And there you have it. A further hoover of the ultra, this time by leaving a voicemail message. An attempt to assert control with a degree of flattery, some pity play, but also threat, something that a mid-range narcissist would regularly utilize. More lessons to be learned in understanding the beige nature of the Duchess of Delusion and the way that she seeks to assert control over the ultra, and of course, as always, entertainment in the education, as most of you have recognized. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.